Jesus Christ Ministries. I am your host, Pastor Michael M. Matthews, and excuse me. Thank you for joining me this evening. Just a minute ago, I was on not Apostle, Prophetess Ella Live, Prophetess Ella Montrose Live. I was on her live just a minute ago, so I am just a little bit out of breath, running here a little bit. Still got that. Still got a little bit of that footballness in me right now. Well, thank you for joining here today. And as I said, today we're going to be in the book of Exodus. Um, we're on part 8, and part 8 is dealing with stealing. So part 8 is dealing with stealing. As we all know, it's not right to steal, and it was a law given to the Israelites, but it is also a law that is commonly done with us as well, that we don't steal from each other. We don't try to take from each other. Um, I want to acknowledge my overseer, Apostle Ella J. Alexander, who comes on very often. Not well, she's come on very numerous times to be and give the support, and some of the other members from the other ministries that are also under the overseer, Apostle Ella J. Alexander, some of those that are underneath her, and those that she oversees. Now we're in Exodus 20, so what I'm going to do is I'm getting ready to pray us in. So we're prayed in, and we can begin to start, and then we'll go into this lesson. Now, football season for me is over. There is no playoff season. That hurts a little bit. Well, there is a championship for me. The flag team went to the championship. Just to let y'all know, an announcement, my little flag team. Next after Friday, next Monday, I'll put in the I'll see if I can get a picture with all of them and send it to you. I have you put it up on the page for you so you can see it. Or put it on Facebook, the flag team, as we call it, Coach Mike's little flag team. So we're in the book of Exodus. I'm gonna pray us in, and then we're going to start. Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for allowing me to come today and begin this journey on this Bible study with those who are watching. I want to thank you for waking me this morning and allowing me to do all the things I needed to do today. Grant me the wisdom to get through this Bible study. Grant me the wisdom not to stumble over anything. Grant me the wisdom to direct those directly to you. Heavenly Father, I also pray for those who are in need, those who are hurting, those who are going through something, who are suffering, or who have lost a loved one. Please comfort them, touch them, heal them, give them strength. Let them know that you're always there. You never leave them. You're carrying through this dark and lonely moment that they feel that it's a lonely moment. It's just a dark moment just for a little while. And I say this in your son's name, Christ. Amen. Okay, so we're going to be in the book of Exodus, chapter 20. I believe it's 2015 is the verse. 2015 is the verse that we're going to be in. And we're going to see what Moses has said to everyone. We're going to see what Moses has said to everyone, and what is it that everyone must be doing at this time. That's what we're going to be looking at. So I'm kind of making sure getting this, I'd like to welcome you. Also, share the live. Also, would like you to subscribe to the live as well. We'll have a radio station that's up and running. You was on RBM Smooth Radio this weekend. And this Sunday, you heard our gospel hours. It's at least for 2.5 hours of gospel music for you. You go to our gospel radio station. It's World Gospel Radio. And 24 hours of gospel music, all genres of gospel music, not just one genre, meaning not just modern day gospel. It is all gospel, all genres, even Christian music, whatever you want to say, early Christian music or Christian rap you may hear. We're kind of working with things to see how we can get things going and move things along. To make an announcement, also 2 announcements I have for y'all. Coming in November 24th, 25th, and 26th, we will be having a 3-night ministry event, which we will have true speakers on all 3 nights before Thanksgiving. And the title for the theme for the event is I give thanks. And these powerful speakers are people that I know. Some I probably don't know. I just met through the other speakers, but they will be bringing a word for you. Also, we're looking at Christmas Eve, doing something similar thing, and in their ways we're giving that information to you. So also, we're giving that to you as the same way. Also on December 24th to the 25th. Now, December 24th at 11:30, we're going to come on air, and it's only going to be from 11:30 to 12:15. I will be bringing an acknowledgement for Christmas, what it is about Christmas. So we're going to be bringing an acknowledgement for you for Christmas, so you can hear what we're talking about for Christmas. And what we're doing with that is we want to give a real true understanding of what the purpose of behind Christmas and what it is behind Christmas that we have with is behind Christmas, and the meaning of why we do, everybody does Christmas Eve thing. So we're going to be doing that for you. Now, as we look upon this, we hope that you all understand and you all agree to it as we see. I'm trying to see what else is there. We still have our podcast off. And if you have been on the podcast and you said nothing has really been on there new yet, but it is true. I'm having a little difficulty because going through my computer, for some reason, it's not coming through. I can't get through with my computer. I have to go to another computer, and that has to be early in the morning or later when I put everything up. But we will be soon later putting all the Bible study sermons up on it, and all our Sunday sermons up on it. We have to go back and see where all the Sunday sermons are. All the Sunday sermons were put the titles to. Well, there was titles, but we gotta actually put information so we know that those information goes up on that page. So you'll have all that new information out there for you on that. So as we know, our platform is kind of spread it out a little bit so we can see it. And that's what I'm looking at now, the different platforms that I have here and what we're looking at. Hey, Apostle Samuel Hunt, good evening. Blessings, sir. Blessings, Mrs. Lawson. Blessings. It's great to see everybody. Okay, I see a few people. See a few people have come in. So now we're going to get into this Exodus, as we say. We're going to get into the book of Exodus. Where's my? I have things set up. My clipboard's way over here, so I have to stay right here with with my paper. So we're going to be looking into tonight God's word And I'm going to explore this commandment that instructs. It says us, but I'm going to put it as it instructs the Israelites at this time. And Moses has instructed them not to steal. So Moses is instructing them not to steal. Okay, he is instructing them not to steal. And we find it that, as he says, thou shalt not steal. The a commandment, what we call the eighth commandment, will be in Exodus 20:15 is thou shalt not steal. Um, this commandment is not just a mere suggestion. It's not just a mere suggestion, but a directive from our Heavenly Father to honor the property of others and to act in integrity and honesty in all our dealings, as we all do, as we all do. We come around, you come around, and you you see something that somebody else have, and in today's society, how does this reflect with today's society? Well, look around you. We have we have nice people have nice cars, people have nice homes, they have stuff that's real nice inside them. And other people just seem to that they have to go in and take these things. There is I'm going to give you an illustration of something, but in this product of us stealing, taking from somebody else and not um, seeing the honesty in us, not seeing how would we like it if somebody stole something from us? How would we feel? And that's one way you should put yourself in a shoe with all these commandments. Put yourself in these shoe in a shoe of this. How would you like somebody to come and steal your car? Steal money out of your bank account. Um, steal steal money out of your bank account. Steal like I keep going back to a car key. Whatever it is that you have, taking money, embezzling money, stealing money from the company that you work for, the company that you own. You're the owner, and you're embezzling from yourself and the people that trust you because you have a trust fund that you have an investment stock that people invest in, and you're stealing their money for a long-term gain for them. And here you stealing their money so you can live a lavishly lifestyle. This is stealing money. And then also stealing from the church. How many times have we heard people break into a church to go and steal? In some churches they have. I remember my church, Saint Aloysius, which was the name of the Catholic school that I went to, Saint Aloysius. In the church, I don't know if it's still there. I know the church is still there, but I don't know if it's still the same setup. They had the poor box. When you walk in the church, way all the way near the front to the right is the poor box, and you had the poor box at the right of the church in the front. Because in the middle of the church, you had where the pastor, as they say in Catholic churches, the father he goes up, he has the pulpit, the stage or whatever you want to call it. He's there in the pulpit and the stage that he sits on in his chairs. And when you go into the right of the pews, you have the poor box, and you have the candles where you light your candles. And when you walk over there, you light the candles, you put your money in the poor box, you come back. Now that's the same way where the father of the church, he comes out and he walks around with the altar boy. You have one or three altar boys. It's usually three altar boys, depending on how many people were there that day. But if it's just the father doing the service, it's the altar boy. It's three altar boys. It's the two carrying the candles and one carrying the cross. So the one carrying the cross, he's in the front. The two altar boys are behind them. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the father's right. Either he's right in the middle or he's right behind them. And they walk in there holding. If I'm not mistaken, the way they hold it is right hand, left hand. If I'm not mistaken, because it's been years. And it's the same way. It's left hand, right? it's something similar to that. And they put the candles down on the side, and the cross is put in to which place where it goes, and they do the service. So these people break into this church, and they take the they take the money from these people who 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 have their who has put their money into this thing. They put their money there for them to use it, and be able to pray over for their families and stuff, like families, and they pray on their aunts, uncles, and moms and dads. So anybody, I would go in, and my grandmother used to give me change, and I put the change in. I put the change in the offering plate, and it was. I think she always gave me 75 cents, something like that. Put the 75 cent in, and then she gave me pennies, nickels, and a quarter to put in the poor box. And she said, put that in the poor box and light a candle for whoever you want. So I would light a candle for my grandmother, my grandmother, my mother, and my father, and then a fourth one would be for the entire family. And that's how I would do it all the time I go there. Hey, Miss Daisy, how you doing? So now that's being said, but we're going to get into this where Moses, as we said in 21, Moses has went up to the mountain. He talked to God, and God is talking to him. He's had him there on the mountain for 40 days, and he's finally given them written the written on the tablets with his finger the laws that they were supposed to follow, what they call the Ten Commandments. But we know in Jewish law, it is 613 laws that they must follow. And then you also, if you read Leviticus tells you of all the different laws. It has different laws. They have the moral, civil, and let me see if I'm not correct. They have the moral law and the civil law, moral and civil. So they have these laws there for you to follow, and these are what Moses is. But he's giving these are just the foundation of what the laws are. So we have this law here: do not steal, do not steal. So you don't want to steal the neighbor's ox at that time, their ox or their goat or their their chickens or anything like that. So this is what we're faced with. And Moses has come down from the mountain. The people see God come down on this mountaintop. And when he comes down, if you ever get a chance to go to this, as they had said, if you look, I think there's even drawings or pictures of it, that the top of the mountain is blackish, is black, where they say this is where God came down to speak to the Israelites. And as we were reading in the book earlier in 21, the people were hearing thundering, lightning, and things. And I remember my grandmother was saying to me, shh, be quiet. He's speaking. I'm hearing thunder and lightning. And I'm like about 8 years old at the time. She said something. All I'm hearing is thunder and lightning. She said he's speaking. And she would tell me the lightning flash is him. Wait, let me get this straight now. I think she said the lightning flash was him. Either it was flashing, it was his eyes, or his hand clap. It was one of the two. Every now and then I get it confused. So I think one was the hand clap, one was the lightning flash. But when you hear a rumble was him putting that there. So that's what the people were hearing. They were frightened by this. So they go on, and Moses gets them to calm down. Now he tells them, I am the Lord your God. You shall have no God before me. You shall have no God before me. Before I am a jealous God. He also states to them that you shall not have no God before me. He tells them that it's been a while now. trying to remember, because I used to go through this all the time. Love thy neighbor as yourself. Honor thy mother and father, or your days may be long. Keep the Sabbath day because it is holy, meaning he has sanctified, he has holy the Sabbath day, the seventh day of the week, which is day everybody says it's Saturday. But Sunday, as we'll get into that later on with the Sabbath and Sunday is the Lord's Day, as we put it, the Lord's Day. The Lord's Day. I know I'm doing Day of the Lord. So this is what God is telling them. He's giving them all these directions. Now he comes to this direction, which we just came over. Love thy mother as your mother and father, so your days may be long. Now here he comes to this part of thou shalt not steal. And this stealing can lead to very consequences, because in these consequences of stealing, we can imagine you can send a person, a person can wind up in jail for stealing. So in this we have a little, I want you to kind of imagine a man who decides to steal a car. He's just stealing a car for a joyride. He's not stealing a car, but they do steal the cars to get parts and make money, man, fast money off of it and sell them. And he sees the shiny vehicle parked on the street and feels tempted. Here we go. He feels tempted to take it for a spin, ignoring the voice of conscience. Now, here is this voice of conscience and the commandment of God. He steals the car and drives off into the night. However, his joyride is short-lived. As soon as as he soon realizes the consequences of his actions. Now, the consequences of his actions for stealing. In other words, what God is telling you to do is avoid doing anything wrong, because you're going to come to the consequences of your wrongdoings. So if you wrong somebody over a period of time, you will become to a consequence of that wrongdoing, meaning you will face your own judgment for what you have done. And this is what this young man has did. He doesn't, in my I think it doesn't say what happens to him, but this is just you can envision he probably got arrested, stopped, or he probably crashed, or he probably ran and hit somebody and then got caught and then sentenced. But now it also, by you stealing, you also hurt the person that you stole from. The owner of the car is left without transportation. They're also feeling violated and betrayed by their own neighbor. Now, remember that word neighbor. You may say by a stranger, but even the stranger, Jesus has said, is your neighbor. Because when we say love thy neighbor as yourself, that stranger is your neighbor. And so this young man, he's been strange. The man who stole the car now faces legal repercussions, meaning he was arrested. Now he's going to spend time in jail, time away from his family, time away from all that he that he wanted to be with, all that he needed to be with. That's what he's faced with. He's going to face. He won't be able to see his family. He won't be able to see his kids if he has kids. He won't even be able to hang out on the block. You know. So this is something that we see here. I'm just trying to get some things there. There we go. Oh, yeah, that's what I wanted. All right. So as we look at this, he feels his reputation, and he is guilty. His guilty conscience that weighs heavy upon him. Now, when you run into these things of these guilty, is that the correct? Let me just. I was just double checking. I saw something covered a bit. I wanted to make sure that if you weigh these guilty conscience, your guilty conscience can lead you to a point of, oh, I'm in trouble. I'm not gonna see my family. I'm not gonna see my friends. I'm not gonna see anybody anymore. I'm gonna be stuck with this. I'm gonna be locked up for a good long time. I'm going to be locked up in in my in my own verse here, in my own prison cell. I'll be locked away from everybody. Okay, so you'll be locked up. So as you saw on the ticker tape right there, we're going to ask you to go to Leviticus 19:11, and I'm going to give you a little hint for some people who may not remember, who may want to know certain verses. I just realized how I can remember a certain scripture or verse. 19:11 for me is going to be weird for you, but for this particular one, it kind of fits. There is a automatic gun that was made in the year of 1911. So for me, if I need to think of stealing out and I wanted, if I can remember the actual verse, for me, it would be, oh, that's right, 1911, that handgun. And I associate it with the stealing because most of the time what people do, somebody steals and breaks in their house and they're trying to steal, they go and grab their handgun and they okay. So that's why I kind of went with that under that kind of logic for it. But there's other ways I do think of how to connect with the scripture that I want, or I just try to really remember the story. In 1911, we see here Moses. This is the various laws that were passed. So I'm not going to just start with verse 11. I'm going to actually start at verse 9, and I'll probably end at 14. I mean 15. I'll probably go to 15. 15, I'll probably go all the way through. So you'll get a good gist of it. Okay, now, verse 9. Now when you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not reap to the very edge of your field. Now that means when you don't go all the way to the end, and then you kind of God wanted you to do is kind of round it off, because you're rounding it off, meaning that part would be for, now back in those days, that part would be for the poor people and travelers when they came by. If your harvest was there and it was already ripe, they can eat whatever it is, as long as they stayed right there. Once they picked it up and they walked away, they would be considering stealing. So it's like you stay right there. It's just like if you're in the store and you got a bag of grapes and you're eating the grapes while you're walking in the store, you're good. They can't tell you you're stealing. They may try, but they can't because you're still there. You're going to pay for it as long as you show them that you had the grapes. Now, when you go to leave, you don't just walk out without paying, so you pay. So this what he was telling them to do. The very edge of your field, nor shall you gather the gleaning of your harvest, and you shall not glean your vineyards, nor shall you gather the fallen grapes of your vineyards. You shall leave them for the needy and for the stranger. Now you see, so anything that fell on the ground is just like your tree. That's like if you had trees in the area and apples fell on the ground. You didn't touch the apples that were on the ground. You pull the apples from the tree that you're harvesting from. And any stranger or a person needy can pick up the things and eat them right there, because the travelers during that time, they traveled on foot and they made sure that they were good, because that would be part of stealing. In a sense, if they walked off from that area, they would be considered as stealing the the uh, the grapes or the vineyard or whatever it is that they're doing. I am the Lord your God. So he ends it with I am the Lord your God. So that is his stamp when he says I am the Lord your God. That's his stamp of saying I am the one who's giving you this order. Verse 11, you shall not steal, nor deal falsely, nor lie to one another, and you shall not swear falsely by my name, so as to profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. You shall not oppress your neighbor nor rob him. So you're not to put any barriers on me, put anything on me to oppress me, to make me feel down low. You're not to lie to me. You're not to deal falsely with me, meaning charging me something for something that is you're charging me more than what it's actually worth. You charge me something that is worthy of it that you want. Um, Also, the wages of a hired worker are not to remain with you all night until morning. You shall not curse a person who is deaf, nor put a stumbling block before a person who is blind, but you shall I mean, but you shall revere your God. I am the Lord your God. So what he's saying here is that all this ties into the stealing, because if you charge a person more money than what something is worth, you're stealing from them. If you say, if something, a price tag says one thing, you go there, you go to put it, the price tag says one thing, but they bring it up for another cost. And you say, but the price tag said this. And he says, no, the price tag is this. No, it's this. And they lie and they say, oh, it was a mistake. No, that's a mistake. We changed it today. You're not supposed to do that. Even though there are some store owners that try to do things like that, and they get away with it because you know, who we always challenge, but some people say the consumer is always right. We're not supposed to do so. These are law. These are like little statues of laws within their stumbling block for a blind person. Blind person can't see, so you put something in their way, they fall down, and you rob them, or they. I had an uncle who used to ask me to. He come to me. He said, "What's the money he had?" So on his money, he had various paper clips. So there was, like, if it was a big bill, he had a large. So if it was like a $10 bill, he had a large paper clip. So he knew the paper clip. He knew that was a $20 bill. He had another paper clip that's just a little smaller. He knew that was a $10 bill. And so they were done this way so he can count his money. And if you were to go to him and take the paper clips off, let's just say you take those paper clips off and switch them up. Now you giving him a stumbling block for what money he has. You understand? These are the things you're not supposed to do, and we're not supposed to do these things to um, give our neighbors a stumbling block. So as we're going to look at also in this young man who served his consequences, we can see he probably spent his time in jail, probably regret the law. And as we see, God is giving this, that you don't steal, you don't steal from a person. You don't even steal another person's identity. People go nowadays, they have this identity where they take your ID, or they have your license or whatever, and they get a picture to put before. It's now, I think it's a little harder. But back in the days, they used to get your credit card. They take your credit card, now your credit card, and they used to go into the store and say you're so and so and so and so. And if the cashier was not on point with what things were going on, they would give the credit card over to you, to the cashier, and the cashier would just ring it up, and back then they had a thing that they ran across and they handed it back to you. They didn't challenge people. So it was easy to get away. Now it's a little different where we got special codes to punch in and stuff like that. But even with that, people stand behind you and you're punching in your code and they see your code punch in. They follow you, they rob you, so they're stealing, taking your wallet or your purse. Go to bank. They got your thing. or they go to certain stores where they know they're not going to be challenged with for the card, and they spend it on what they want to spend it on. So now we're going to look at this is Matthew, and Matthew 5:42. I was kind of confused a little bit when I first read it, because I wasn't sure. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't see how this ties in. At first I said I don't see how it ties in, but after I read it, I said, oh, I can see how I could tie this into the do not steal. Let me go here. Matthew 40. I'm sorry, yes, 42. Okay. So we're at Matthew 42. And what I'm gonna say here is so we're gonna go from, we're not gonna go at 42. I wanna go to let's go to 38. Let's look at verse 38 here in this. You have heard that it was, I'm going to say, if you want to drop your comments, go ahead and drop your comments, and that's fine. Just drop your comments if you want. You don't have you think, just go ahead and drop your comments, Miss Daisy, Miss Lawson, just like y'all do on when we're doing Lady Red live. Just drop your comments. You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. That meant eye for an eye back then is whatever, whatever, whatever you have done to me, I think it must be done back to you. In some circumstances like that. So that was the terminology for an eye, tooth for a tooth. It's like a life for a life. So you take a life, then a life must be taken from you. If you take somebody's life from me, then somebody in your family or your relatives, or maybe even your life may be taken. So that's what's their concept. And this is what Jesus is saying this on the Sermon on the Mountain. And he says here, but I say to you, do not show, and I always keep forgetting to do this, forgive me. I am reading from the New American Standard Bible, the New American Standard Bible. So please forgive me for not mentioning that to you. But I say unto you, do not show opposition against evil persons, but whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn the other cheek towards him also. Now, some people say, well, why would Jesus want you to turn the other cheek? And I heard a concept that they were not talking about the cheek, not your left cheek. It was more, he's telling you to resist. In this says resist this temptation. Here he's asking you to resist this temptation of going back evil for evil, the person that slapped you. So automatically, initially, our first initial instinct is I'm gonna slap you right back, or better yet, I'm gonna punch you right back. I'm gonna try to, as we used to say back in the day, I'm gonna try to break your jaw. And that's what Jesus is saying. Jesus is saying, better yet, show them the other cheek. And I think it was another pastor I heard on Facebook mention. He says, no, when Jesus said turn the other cheek, he's meaning turning your back. So your cheek that you sit on, he said, turn that. He says, turn that, give that to them. You know. So if anyone wants to sue you and take you uh, take you trumpets, let him have your cloak also. Well, they're saying if he wants to take your shirt, you let him take your shirt. So in other words, they want to take you to court, let him give him the other one, and he says here, whoever forces you to go 1 mile. So back in the day when Romans were walking, and they gave you your bag, they were able to give the person walking with them, their servant or whoever it was, their bag to walk. It was a Roman, if a Roman soldier gave you something, you had to walk with it at least a mile. So Jesus is saying when the Roman soldier give you this bag, you walk an extra mile. I think there's a concept of that on Chosen. There's a scene where Jesus and the disciples are walking with the Roman soldiers, and the Roman soldier goes to take the bag from, I think, Jesus or one of the disciples, and he says no, and he walks another mile with them. So he says, go the extra. So in other words, another concept of this, go an extra mile. You went things, so take an extra mile, go an extra mile for a person. But sometimes that going extra mile, people take advantage of it. And we do understand people do take advantage of going the extra mile. Um, to go the extra mile and go with him too. Uh, Give to him who asks of you, and do not turn away from him who wants to borrow from you. A lot of times when people ask something of us, even our closest friends, our closest loved ones, even when they ask to borrow something or they ask something of us, and we kind of turn away from them or we kind of don't want to give it to them, they begin to feel like, okay, he didn't want to give it to me, so I'm going to take it the first opportunity I have. And that's what happens. Even with some people, they'll ask, you don't give it to them. All of a sudden, they take it, and that happens with some of our family members who are under the influence of certain drugs and things like that. They'll ask you, but then when you don't give it to them, they then go and take it themselves because the opportunity is there. And this is what he is saying here. You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But that's what he says. But I love my neighbor. But love your neighbor. So in this verse that I just read, 42, this verse reminds us of the importance of um, generosity. So it's sort of like when you give the generosity to people and the compassion towards others, we people don't tend to want to steal from you because you're constantly giving. You give to them, so they're not. A lot of times, people who steal, they have an opportunity. They feel that's a hard one, even if it's a symbol of doing the word of God. Yes, it is a hard one. um, I just happened to look up and see that. So when we give generously, sometimes when you give, if you ever notice with, I'm gonna take us like this. We have the people, the normal guys that's on the street. They know who to steal from. They know who not to steal from. But they see you. They see you, a person who walks by, and they may ask you out of the clear blue, hey, so and so, Mrs. So and so, or Mr. So and so, you have. So now a guy now one of their boys want to rob you. They go, no, you don't touch that person. In other words, you're off limits. Anybody else you're good for, or your house, oh, they're off limits because you have given to them who are kind of who are, and what I'm saying is those that are in the street that are sick, they are off limits. So it's like when you go and you give to the homeless, and the homeless, there's an opportunity where they see, you drop your wallet bags, and this is a homeless person that's right there sitting in the street, and they see you drop it, but you have always walked by them, gave them $1 change, bought them coffee, stood there maybe for 5 minutes, chit chatting with them, and then leave. And they just happen to see you drop that wallet. They pick it up and they chase after you and they tap you and they give it to you. Now, the chances of that happen, I may say it's very slim, but it can happen. And the person says, here, because you know why they doing it? Because in their subconscious mind, you always been generous to them. You always show them compassion. Even in the state that they're in, they begin to see, oh, you know, yeah, he's got a lot of money or she got a lot of money here. But if I do this and they find out I did it, they'll never help me again. So they run after you and they give it to you. Sometimes this is what happens to people in that state. And it happens to people from that moment. Um, as I said, when we steal from someone, we are not only taking what does not belong to us, we're not taking what doesn't belong to us, but we are also divide, the, depriving others of their rightful possessions and causing harm to our relationship with them. Uh, your brother, your brother. Now, this is sort of like stealing, but this is we look you could look at it like brothers. Now, one brother, he has his he maybe has his he has a shirt in the closet. You don't ask him for his shirt. You go and take his shirt. You never asked him for his shirt. Now people say, "Man, well, that's not stealing. That's my brother." Oh, but you took it without permission. So if you look at the 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 definition of taking without permission, it's stealing. So you take your brother's shirt that he likes to wear, shirt that he wears when he's going out, shirt that he wears when he's going on special interviews, and you go and you wherever you are. Now it's a nice, expensive little shirt, and you take that shirt, you're wearing it, and just so happens this shirt gets ruined by something. Somebody spilled coffee on it. Somebody things, something happens to it where it is now ruined. Now, when your brother finds out, he looks at he like, yo, did you see my shirt? And you say, yeah, I seen it. I took it out. I wore it. He's going to be mad at you. Now you and him have a rift between you because of this shirt. That was his shirt. You shouldn't have took my shirt. Man, you were wrong. Blah, 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 da, da, da. You took my shirt. And this is where the problem begins with brothers, the ownership of things. So that's why Jesus is telling us also in Matthew 5:42 is to be generous. Ask. That's what also Leviticus is saying. Ask. That's why God told the farmer, curve your field, curve it. That's why he say if the grapes fall down on the ground, you don't pick the grapes up off the ground. You leave the grapes there for the people. The poor that's going to come by, they're going to sit there and they're going to eat. The stranger that's come, he's going to sit there, he's going to eat. So it's the same thing. We want to be generous so that if there's more generosity, it's going to be less stealing. The people that are on the street, their only thought in this day and age, to them, their only thought and age is survival. They're not looking at wrong or right anymore. Their thing is their whole life now that they don't have a house to live in. It is strictly for survival. And this is their problem. They have to survive. And we, with the ability to help them in our way, generosity, meaning sometimes not always giving them money, but saying, hey, let me take you to a shelter where you can stay. But now we know shelter sometimes is not that great. But this is what happens when we have more generosity, more compassion. It's the less stealing. People that are doing without. There's moments where people who don't have, who are hungry, they go to the store there, and you see the guy stuffing things up under his shirt to get ready to walk out. And you may see this, and the owner catches him, and I'm going to call the cops. I'm going to call the cops. Now, let's just say you see this happen. You walk over, you tell the owner, look, 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 look. And this guy, two of his friends are holding him. He said, look, I'll tell you what, don't call the cops on him. How much is, ring up everything and I'll pay for it. Now, this may not happen ever. And I can't say it may never ever happen, but just imagine the feeling of that person who's trying to get this just to survive. And the owner says, oh no, I want the cops. He says, look, you call the cops, you're gonna have to go to court, you're gonna have to testify, and so forth and so on. I'll just pay for it. The guy is standing there and he's doing this deal. He's gonna look at you like you're actually gonna, yes, I'm gonna pay for it because I don't want to see you get hauled off for whatever reason that this is happening. And maybe you and him, after you pay for it, you and him walking. He explains to you his story. Now, if his story is true, it's true. If it's not true, then that's just the case it is. But who are we to judge his walk or his understanding of this, or what he's going through? Who are we to judge him unless we judge him righteously? So he's going through something. We're there. We come as his angel, so to speak, to help him, to get him in a better place for him. And for that reason, because we've done that, he looks at us as his guy, as his shining light, the light at the end of a tunnel in a dark place that he has been for God knows how long, or how many years, or how many months. And that's what he's looking at. So as Christians, we are called to live our lives of honesty and integrity. So when we don't steal, we don't cheat, we don't do none of those things. We live a life of honesty. We live a life of integrity. We're upright people and respect for property of others, for others' properties. So we have a respect for property. I drive a nice car. I don't want nobody to hit my car, so I don't want to hit nobody's car. You ever you're too close to somebody's too close to you're too close. Somebody parked a certain way and you go to open your door and you hit the guy's car by accident, and you look back and you look to see if you caused any damage. There used to be a thing where when somebody would damage your car, they would write their name and their number so that you can contact them. I don't think that ever happens anymore today, but they were used to do that because it was a little more honesty going on. Stealing is a violation of God's commandment and a betrayal of our faith. So when we steal from each other, when we do mischievous things, we testify against each other. But when we steal, when we have these prices where we have on the marker is one price, but when they come to the cash register, it's a whole different thing. That's a problem. That's when you're deceiving the person. You're trying to steal their money. You're trying to steal their money from them. The betrayal, and it also hurts the faith, because our faith is what a lot of people stand on. A lot of people look at Christians or followers of Christ or people of as we will have I'll double back to where they used to call us the way goers. People of that faith, they looking at you to be this guiding light. Even the ones who you say you follow these 10 commandments, you must follow them to the T. Because if you stay with the law, as we say, the Mosaic law, if you say, well, I never stole anything, but I did lie one time, you broke all the laws. That's one thing you must understand. You broke all the laws. You broke them all. And you understand. Paul tells you I think it's in First Corinthians. Um, I don't remember exact chapter. I believe it's in First Corinthians or in Acts. He says to you, they are who of the law. They follow the law. They're following the Mosaic law. If you must do all the law, if you're going to follow, if you're going to stay within the Old Testament of the old law, the old covenant, the new covenant is when Christ comes because we now rest in Christ. Our rest is in Christ. The law, meaning when we say the law, not the not our physical moral law, but the letter of the law. This is where people get lost. When Christ argued with the Pharisees about the law, when he said they were not keeping the Sabbath, these people they were not supposed to walk with the bed on the Sabbath. The law was not to be made a burden for people who were trying to do the right thing or people doing the right thing. The law was to show the wrongdoer what they were doing wrong. That's what's the whole purpose of the law. The Mosaic law was to do, to show you what you were doing wrong. It was to be a mirror for you. So when Christ came and he nailed that law on the cross, that's where everything is. The Mosaic law. It's not our moral law does not move out the way. It's not. So I hear people say, "Well, we don't have to obey the law." No, you still obey the law because we don't steal, we don't bear false witness, we don't testify against our neighbors, we don't bear false witness, we don't cover our neighbors' wives. Um, we honor our mothers and fathers. We love God with all our heart, soul, and mind. All these laws we have, we do all these things. And the two greatest of the commandments is two greatest ones is love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. On those two commandments, then all 10 other laws. So we don't want to hurt nobody. So that is what Jesus was saying. The letter of the law is what the Pharisees was going by, but the 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 spirit of the law is what Jesus wanted you to go by. See, he didn't want these things to become a burden to people. We wanted it to be, you still had your free will. You still will be, people still free to do what they want. But you understand, even today's society, you steal something, you get caught, you go to court, you go on trial. You're ruined. Your reputation is ruined. Maybe even your family it would be ruined because they're looking at you and they're looking at your mother and father. Did you raise them? You know, people do that. They'll look at your mother and father. Well, did they raise them right? So, or you've been a good kid and people are looking at you now, you're always a question when you come, whatever the outcome is after that. Now everybody is a question to you. Your integrity, your honesty is always challenged with people. So this is the purpose of why we don't steal, why we don't lie, because your integrity is always challenged at this point in time when things happen. Um, Let me see. It is a selfish act that undermines trust, damages relationships, and brings shame upon ourselves and our community. Well, yes, we do. Yes, Miss Daisy, we do have free will. So under our community, we have a moment where we're put on where we're when we do these things, our community hurts because if we did it outside of our community, people would look at our community and say that person came from this, and look how our society is today. People of color are always looked upon as thieves and this and that, and you hear the stories of when we walk into stores, the security is following us around, and things like that. So we must uh, diminish that 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 stigma that we have. Uh, so that's why we must get our integrity, our honesty back, and not be trying to steal from one another and anything like that. Even with the homeless, people say, well, every time a homeless person come in here, he steal. Well, maybe if you tell a guy, hey, yo, what you want? Okay, here, boom, take it, pay, ring it up. You take the money out your pocket, pay for it, and let him go. Maybe he won't steal. Or when you leave out, if you find the guy, you see him, give him some money. So when you come in the store tomorrow, pay me with this. You know, there are things we can think of to do um, for some of these people to keep them from being a nuisance to us, but they'll always be with us, as Jesus said. The poor will always be with us. Pouring, pouring materialistic things and poor in spirit. And poor in spirit is the worst one to be in because when you're poor in spirit, you have very little faith in anything. You don't have no faith in people. Um, when we steal, we are not only breaking the law of the land, but we are also breaking the law of God. So when we steal, we're not just breaking the law that man put in place, we're also breaking the law that God put in place. When we steal, it's just like we have people that steal a car, we have people that take money out of people's bank, we have people that do fraudulent stealing, steal people's identity. Or good evening, Apostle Ella. How you doing? I was just on her Zoom thing. I jumped on. They had a little problem, but I stayed on for a good as long as I could. So I had to come over here. But we stay. We're not just breaking man's law that we have here. Do not steal property. You take somebody's property, or you take somebody's identity. You're breaking the law of God as well. Whether you believe whether you believe in God or not, you're still breaking that commandment or that law. Let us remember the words of Exodus 20:15, and strive to live lives that honor God and respect the property of others. So let us always try to respect each other's property, each other's things. I got in here, I got my two computers. In the other room, I got a computer. My son got his computer. When he's not on it, that's when I jump on his computer. But we don't take nobody takes my computer and takes it out unless they ask me to. Most of the time, for family, I don't really worry about it. But you don't want people just coming and taking things from you, because if something happens now, you're without. Now you have an issue with them. Let us resist the temptation to steal and instead choose to act with kindness, generosity, and love towards our neighbors. So remember that part about generosity. When you keep giving, sometimes when you keep giving, every day, like I say, I sometimes I go to what is that? Wow. I always in the morning when I'm on my way to the studio, I stop, I get me a coffee. And sometimes there's a gentleman out there, a homeless person or whatever, and they open the door for me. I say thank you. On my way out, if I have change, I can always keep a lot of change with me, and I'll pull in my pocket, pull out some change, give them the change, and go on my way. That's the generosity. That generosity blesses you in a long way, especially if you are doing it sincerely. When you do things sincerely, it goes a long way for you. You later on, somewhere down the line, you get blessed because you're blessed. And sometimes some of them stop and talk to me, and I stand there and listen. And I'll tell them, oh yeah, okay, all right. You take it easy. Um, Sometimes I come out and they'll explain to me what's going on, and do I have a dollar? Yeah, here's a dollar. I already had the dollar in my hand. Here's a dollar. And they'll take the dollar and they'll say, okay, I'll see you later. And I say, I'll see you later. I may run into them again another time. They may not even ask me, but they always acknowledge me when they see me. And that's your generosity. That's your your example of your integrity. Those people look at you, they never will look at you as somebody that they know will hurt you. You have always been kind to them, even in their situation. Um, let us be examples of integrity and honesty in the world that is often filled with greed, dishonesty, and corruption. And we can see a lot of the dishonesty. We can see a lot of the corruption. We can see a lot of the greed in this. Prices are going up, and when you go, that's stealing because you go to the store and you only bought three things, and you done spend $15, and you only bought three things, and you're looking at what's in a bag, and you're like, wait a minute, this is so it's like you're stealing. Like they've done something where things now is you got to pay more for more. True. Your blessing comes in so many different forms when you are kind to others. Yes, Miss Stacy, that's so true. So true. Yes, Miss Lawson, 100%. And it has happened to me many a times. I've had it happen. There were times that it happened to me and I didn't even, I never really thought of it until lately I started thinking, wow, all those times I stopped on the highway, helped a person, all those times I did this and did that and never asked for nothing. And here in my moments and my times of my struggles, people have, yo, here, um, here. Oh, don't worry, I get you. Is that all you get? Yeah, I got a coffee in my hand. Is that all you get? Yeah, okay, I'm buying a coffee. Yo, I'll buy his coffee. I said, well, double take it. I'm like, okay. And I do the same. A young man was behind me. I said, that's all you got? He said, yeah. I said, add his coffee to my coffee. And he said, oh man, I must be getting blessed. That's the first word out of his mouth. He said, oh man, I must be getting blessed today. And I hope he did in that process. Even the cashier was like, oh, paying it forward. Okay. And I said, yeah, that's what we need to do sometime. And he said, yeah. He said, you have a nice day. And I said, you have one too. And that's what we do in this society that we have today and in this turmoil that we have that's going on with things. Uh, as we also see, may we seek forgiveness for our past transgressions and commit ourselves to a life of righteousness and obedience to God's commandment. Now, we've all have lived a good, nice number of years in our lives, and we have done some things that we may not be proud of. We have done some things that we would don't tell nobody, those type of things. And we look back and we want to ask for forgiveness. We ask God for forgiveness. The person that we hurt, we ask them for forgiveness. Or the people that we hurt, we ask for forgiveness. And now we try to live a more better and more righteous way. Now, there are moments where we will stumble, we will fall, we fall. But we as Christians, and in the words the great boxers, when you get knocked down, you get knocked down. The referee counts 1, 2, 3. He's giving you a 10 count. That 10 count means it's over. He's giving you the count. You get back up. God, He's your referee. He's watching you. You fall. He's looking at you. As he's counting, he's putting his hand down for you to get up. He's counting, but he's counting. See, the refs count like this, but God is holding his hand out and pulling it to tell you, like, let's get up. So when you reach up, he grabs your hand and he pulls you up, and you get up, and you're up, and you move on. And that is the way we do. We fall down. You fall down 7 times, you get back up. There's a great line. I'm going to use it again. I think I used it like couple of weeks, so maybe a month ago, in the movie, um, Rocky, or Balboa. I think the movie was Balboa 2 or Rocky. What happened? He's having a second fight, and his son is mad because he's going to fight again. And Balboa was telling him, "Yo, you was a good kid, but you're pointing your finger where you're not supposed to be. You're pointing because you're not here because of this and that and this and this and that." And and he says, "You don't do that. If you know what he says, if you know what you're worth, you go out and get what you're worth. But you don't point your finger at why you're somewhere where you're not." And a lot of times, that's what the excuse is why people do the thing, why they steal, why they lie, because of situations that they in, or what circumstances have happened, and they've been put in this circumstance. But you can't keep pointing your finger. You can't keep crying victim, because the government is corrupt, so I can't make no money. But you got to get up. But stealing from somebody is not going to satisfy. It's not going to get you where you need to be, because you're going to be and you're going to wind up in jail. Good deeds will carry over to to your offering. As Lawson said, your good deeds will carry over to your offering. Yes, your good deeds will. So what Rocky was telling him, you don't do this. But a lot of people who do the stealing, they say, well, I did the stealing because I fell on hard times. I went to here and they didn't want to do this, and I went here and they turned me. So it looked like they just gave up. And they gave up totally, and they said, "Look, I'm just going to go to a life of crime because it pays for me." But crime does not pay. Stealing does not pay. You get hurt. The people you're stealing from gets hurt. God forbid, you're stealing and somebody um, dies in the process of you stealing. Now you're going to spend the rest of your life in jail. That person's family will not have that person around anymore. So what good is it when you're stealing? So that's why we as Christians, believers, we need to be um, more compassionate, more generosity to some of the people that are lost. And we need to show more love to some of our fellow brothers and sisters, and even to some of our strangers. And more like what Jesus says, and be the shining light, be the salt of the earth. So, with comfort, let's seek forgiveness in our transgressions in our past life, and obedience to God's commandments. So always remember those two greatest commandments: love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. May we be faithful, faithful stewards of the blessing that God has entrusted to us, and use them to glorify his name and further his kingdom here on earth. So the more we do, the more we show people that we follow the commandments without saying we're following the commandments, without making a statement that we're following the commandments. But when people see us, they know by the light we shine, we are following God's laws. We're following God's commandments, because we're following the two greatest commandments on there. So the commandment number 8, we know we're not going to do, because if we break commandment 8, we break all the laws. That means we even we don't love ourselves as we love our neighbor, and that's what it boils down to. So I'm going to say in my conclusion, my brothers and sisters, let us heed the commandments of God, not to steal, and strive to live lives of integrity, honesty, and respect. Respect for property of others. May we be shining examples of God's love and grace in the world that is God's grace and love, which is desperately needed of his light in this world. So I'm gonna let me see if I can drop this down. And if you, like I said, if you want to drop a comment or issue, yeah, I got about maybe another 15 more minutes here. I can before I close out. I usually come on 7:30 and stay at least till 9 o'clock. So we can even go past here on this one. We can go past. But if you got a comment on things you would like to share, if you got a comment or things you'd like to share, that is fine with me. Just send your comment and share. I'm just reading another information here from some people. Amen. Thank you, Miss Daisy. Yes. Um, we have been people steal, and we have sometimes we overlook what people do. We have overlooked what people have done in their process of following the commandments. I have when I'm on TikTok, they ask me, um sometimes they ask me, do you do you follow the commandments? Uh, and I like, yeah, I follow the commandments. I follow all the commandments. Well, do you obey the Sabbath? I said, yeah, I obey the Sabbath. I obey the Sabbath. But I was thinking one night when I was driving, as I was working on this and going through this. Thank you too for coming tonight. Um, as I was going through my sermon in my head, I was thinking about it, the Sabbath. And I said, can you imagine right now if everybody, if the entire world stopped doing everything on a Saturday? That means when you got sick, you couldn't go to the hospital, you couldn't call 911. No police would come to help you, no ambulance would come, no doctors would be on call, no nothing on Saturday. You understand? If somebody died, that person would have to stay right where they were on a Saturday all the way till the following morning. And or Friday night, they would have to stay all the way till the following morning. So I said, I can understand now why when he sent Jesus, Jesus becomes the Lord of the Sabbath. Because the Pharisees and Sadducees, once again, were forcing the people with the letter of the law, but not the spirit of the law. And if you ever look at if you look at the original Law and Order, I forgot what part it's saying. It says that I think it's Jack McCoy, which Jack McCoy is my boy. He's my boy. Jack McCoy is my boy. He says, you're right with the letter of the law, but it's the spirit I'm arguing. He's not arguing the letter of the law. He's arguing the spirit, meaning the letter of the law is correct, but in its spirit, does it really hold the weight it should hold? The judgment should hold. So, like a lot of times, a judge will look at the letter of the law, what the law is saying, what it is, and what it does, and then he says, "But in the spirit of it, I can do this and still be righteous with that law." And that's what God. That's what a lot of times the judges do. They look at what's the letter of the law, and then they look at the spirit. Does it balance? And that's what Jesus was saying. You're making the law a burden to people who are following the law, and you're not holding yourselves accountable, because there was a point where somebody said, well, Jesus said in the thing in a part of one of the chapters, they had he had called them hypocrites because they didn't follow the law as they were supposed to follow the law. So he was calling them hypocrites, just like when they don't honor the Sabbath. It's just like when somebody steals. If the farmer was to ride his thing all the way out to the end and then come right back and he doesn't round it off, the people wouldn't be, and he was to rake up everything from the ground. The people that was traveling or the people in need, they would have to take off of the tree or off of the vineyard to eat. And then he would be claiming they're stealing. But he was told, round your field. That's why when the farmers they do that, they edge it so that anybody you pull over with them, and they, when the if a traveler was riding his horse and he pulls over to the side, he gets his horse over to the side and he sees that he can get a couple, he can sit there and eat something, and he sits by the road and eat it. He's not stealing from you, he's eating. He's sort of like picnicking, not picnicking, but he's sort of like sitting on the side of the road and just eating. Maybe gives his horse something. If somebody saw an apple tree or some kind of tree, or they're in the vineyard and he gets a handful, he gets the grapes that's on the ground and he picks them up and he's eating them. That person is not stealing as long as they don't leave. And that was something I learned years ago in my social study class, that my teacher said if they leave, they would be stealing. But if they stayed right there at that spot and ate whatever they had, they ate their fill and they left, they couldn't. There's nothing the owner or the farmer could do to them, because it was they. A lot of our laws come out of the Bible. If you really sit and pay attention, some of our laws are out of the Bible, which you can see ourselves, some of our civil laws, where a person can bring you to court for, well, you damaged this, you damaged it, you damaged your car. Well, the guy in the Bible, you damaged his ox. You set a trap and my ox fell in it and you killed my ox. So you got to replace my ox. So um, back then it would have been probably Samson, who would, Samson or Samuel, who would have, okay, or even Moses would say, okay, here's what we're going to do. You damage his ox was killed. Now you're going to give him one of your oxes, basically the same, in such a way, the same build. So he would have a strong ox. You wouldn't give him one of your weakest ox. You give him a strong ox, just would match what he had lost, the same amount. So that's what you do, and it's the same thing. Anything of you damage, you're getting what it is worth, and that's what it is. Um, once again, going back to part 8, this the stealing. We are not to steal, because once you go out and you steal from somebody, especially if it's a friend, even if it's a stranger, you hurt the stranger. You done destroyed part of their life in that moment, because if it's money, that money they had. Can you imagine a person? You're a business owner. You own a big corporation. You have stock. You have their 401k, but you're embezzling money. You're stealing from your company. You're embezzling the money from their company. You're taking your own. You're taking your employees' money from the this embezzlement, and you're taking it, and you're taking their money from them, and it comes to find out that you have stole their money. You now stole their money from them, and it hurts them. It will hurt them more than it will hurt you. Well, it hurts you too, but it hurts them. because now they even trusted you because you're their president, you're the CEO of this company, and you're stealing from them. Even we can even sometimes look at our government, look at the things that are in place for our government, the social securities that we pay into, and it's supposed to cover everything, but the government is 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 hurting the people. So you're stealing. It's like, you ever heard the phrase, I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul. So I'm robbing the poor to pay the rich. And sometimes that's the way it is. I'm gonna rob from these poor people over here because I want to make myself rich. I'm not gonna give you quality things. I'm not gonna give you something of quality. I'm gonna give you something cheap for a large amount of money so I can become wealthy. This is not going to last long, but I'm going to get wealthy because of the cost. So that's another form of stealing. And you're being dishonest to the person. The quality you're giving me is not right. It's not worth the money that I paid. So you have stolen from me. You have destroyed my trust in you as a consumer for you. And this is what we see sometimes within our system. So, Ms. Daisy, Ms. Lawson, I thank y'all both for coming in here. I appreciate it. And I thank you. It's been a very good evening for me. Let me see before we end. Let me see where we're at. Well, I always got to bring my calendar out and look at it. This Sunday, this Saturday, this Saturday, we're in Revelations. We're next to the last part of Revelations. We're in part 6, and that'll be I believe this will be the Church of Philadelphia for the 25th. Revelations part 6, the Church of Philadelphia, and then the following one will be the Church of Lodes. Lodes will be the following Saturday after that. Let me see, the 26th, I actually wasn't on this past Sunday. So we will have the next Day of the Lord. We will be talking on the Day of the Lord on the 26th for that one. And next Monday, we will be doing the part 9 of part 9 of the 10 Commandments. Let me see, which will be 16. That, if I'm not mistaken, that is bearing 16 is 2016 is covering thy wife, covering thy neighbor's wife, and 17th is bearing false witness. So the following 2 weeks, those are the things we will be in. So once again, I just like to let you know. Once again, I just like to let you know that let me see what I was going to say. Also, I'd like to let you know that 2026, coming in 2026, every Saturday 2026, we will actually be in the entire book of Hebrews. That means every Saturday we will be in various chapters of Hebrew. Mondays in 2026, we'll still be doing the different topics of things, but most of all, this November, 3 nights, the 24th, the 25th, and the 26th, I give thanks. That is the main night. Those are 3 nights that we have for our Thanksgiving service. Also for let me see. Also for Christmas, we will do. I'm trying to see if we can do something similar to that, but actually on the 24th at 11:30, I'll be coming on. I'll be speaking, and then Christmas Eve, Christmas morning, which will be 12:15. That's how far we will go with the service, and we'll end there. But other than that, I like to thank each and every one of y'all for coming on. Everything great. Thank you. Thank you about Prophetess Ella. Thank you for that. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate each and every one of y'all that have come on. Appreciate each and every viewer that have seen. I appreciate all the cities that have been watching, because I do keep a list of the cities that have been watching, and I thank y'all all for giving me the support. Once again, I'm going to say I would love for each and every one person to subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. You can subscribe. Like I said, you will get the VLF and VLFM magazine. Once I get it, I will email it to you. Once you give me your email, also you give me your email, I will attach you to our request prayer line, so you will get acknowledgments from me, maybe prayers for the month, maybe a prayer for the week. It's not something I bombard you with, but just let you know things like that. If the lives have been a blessing to you and you would like to give a donation, please feel free. It's up in your upper right hand corner. There's a donation give and there is a subscribe give. Those donations go to help anybody that I come in contact with. Also, as me as being a coach of a football team, used to be a coach of a football team, but I still will support those football teams that I have coached with, and that's where that money will go, and that will be what we do. Like last year, the the God in Jesus Christ Ministries and RBM Smooth Radio provided the players with socks so they could wear socks. Plus, they were put on, their names were being announced on the radio show at that time. So until Saturday, may God bless y'all. Everybody have a good night. Thank you. I wonder if I'm still alive. He said,